Hi there, Year 12. So here's a quick video going over the offset account. It's not a very exciting video, but still, it basically just talks you through a way of using offset in your assignment. So I'm imagining that I have a loan of $420,000 at 3.85% per annum. So I need my original loan calculations, and you've already done this on your assignment, but you can see I've done my original loan calculations to find the PMT. So my repayments are $2,182.28 on the original loan. That's 25 years, compounding and payments monthly. So total repayments are 300 months times my PMT. So what have we got there? I think it says 654,684. So that's the total repayments. It's not the interest, it's the total repayments. So if I wanted the interest, I then would take off the $420,000 from that. Now, when you're looking at using an offset account, you need to look into what an offset account means, and you can find some information on that, and I'll put a link on for you to read into. So basically, an offset account is something where you have this extra account on top of your mortgage where you can put extra money in. It just sits in there, and it basically reduces the present value, which means you're paying interest on a smaller amount. Now you can redraw from that at any time. So if I put in $6,000 at one point, I can leave it in there, and it can be reducing my interest paid. And also I can then dip back in and spend some of it. So I might spend $1,000 and only have $5,000 in there. So depending on how much I have sitting in there is how much it reduces my PV by, which means how much it reduces my interest payments by, interest paid by. And basically here I've said for my first strategy, I'm going to put $6,000 in an offset account that's attached to my mortgage for the term of the loan, which means I'm just going to put it in there from the start. An extra $6,000, I can go in and use it anytime I like, but I'm just going to do a calculation to say I've got $6,000 extra in there. Now, when I say I've got $6,000 in there, I might say an average of $6,000 because I might take money out, put extra money in. It's quite flexible, I can move around, but for the sake of the question, I need one amount. So what's really happening in this question is I'm borrowing my $420,000. I take off the $6,000 and I'm left with $414,000. So really it works in the same way as a lump sum if I do it this way, where I'm doing it at the start of the loan and for the term of the loan. So I put that money in, that's my PV, I work out the N, and it tells me that I take 292.88 months to pay off this loan with this extra $6,000 in there. So the time saved is 7.1 months, and then the interest saved is the interest on my original loan, the payments on my original loan, take away the payments on this new version, new strategy. Also take off that $6,000 I put in there. So I've saved $9,537.83. From here, you would talk about this strategy, its pros, its cons, etc. And some of the things that you can talk about is to have an offset account, sometimes you have to pay a higher interest rate, or you might have to pay fees. Also, other things are you don't really know if you're going to have that money. And in this situation, realistically, if you had that $6,000 extra, you would have just got a loan for something smaller. So you wouldn't have borrowed $420,000, you would have borrowed $414,000. So it kind of, it doesn't really make a lot of sense in this case that you're going to have that money at the start. But it is just one way of looking at the scenario. And in this case as well, I'm putting in this $6,000 as into the offset account. I'm using 100% of that $6,000 to offset against my loan, which means all of it is used in the calculations, and you can offset different percentages. So in this scenario, I'm assuming 100% offset. And you can just discuss that further by looking into the offset accounts and what they all mean. Now, going over to a second strategy. Now, this strategy is like the one in the textbook, so I'm really just discussing that question. That can be found on page 225 of the textbook. So this strategy, I still am putting in $6,000. For whatever reason, I have that money, and I'm doing it after 2 years, and I'm only putting it in for 1 month in this scenario. So realistically, if you come into a windfall of money, you don't know what to do with it, whether you want to invest it in shares or any other type of investment, the smart thing to do with it is to invest it somewhere where it's earning some money or saving you some money while you're just making that decision. So in this scenario, I'm going to put it into my home loan, let it sit there for a little bit while I make some decisions what would be the best use of this $6,000, or I go and speak to my financial advisor and say, what can I do with this money? So it's at least it's working for me while I'm waiting. So what I need to do for this is I need to find the outstanding balance after 2 years. So here we go, we've got 24 months. My future value, when I find it, is this amount here. And then in the 25th month is when I'm going to put that money into my account. So I'm depositing $6,000 at the same interest rate as my loan, my mortgage. And what I'm going to do is just work out how much interest that saves. So if I put $6,000 in at 3.85% per annum, and then I only put it in for 1 month. So if I divide it by 12, I get 1 month. So this essentially is simple interest, P, interest rate for 1 month times 1 month. So what it works out to be is I'm saving $19.25 by putting that money in for 1 month. So straight away, I know I'm saving, roughly $20. This is not a lot of money, but it's still money that's being saved. And if this was higher, I'd save a bit more. If this was higher, I'd be saving a bit more as well. Okay, so now I want to work out how much interest I have to pay for that 25th month. I don't need to use my calculator because it's only 1 month. So it's only one iteration or one calculation. I don't need repeated calculations, which is what TVM does for me. So I work out this was my future value, and then I take off the $6,000. So what I'm left with is what is in the bank for that 25th month. And then what I need to do is so that's my PV, or my P. I times it by my interest rate. The interest rate is 3.85% per annum, divided by 12 to get 1 month. And that will give me the interest that has to be paid on this amount for that 1 month. And that works out to be $1,261.54. So if that is the interest that is being paid for that month, I can work out the balance at the end of the month. So the balance is the FV, which is now the present value. So you can see it up here. So at the end of 24 months, this is what was owing. So here it is here. I know I've just worked out how much interest I have to pay on the new amount minus the 6,000, which is this. So it's the FV, what's owing, plus the interest for that month. Take away my payment, and as you can see here, the total is $398,287.65. So that's the new balance at the end of that 25th month. So what's happening here is basically I got the balance at the end of the 24 months. I worked out how much interest I would save on $6,000 just for being in the bank for 1 month. It's this amount. I've worked out how much interest I have to pay on the loan for that 1 month based on what was owing minus the $6,000 I popped in there for 1 month. I worked out that. So at the end of the month, I'm paying the balance plus the interest for that month, take away the payment for that month, because that's how I work out what's owing at the end of the month, giving me this amount. So now I know what's owing at the end of the month. I want to work out how much time it will now take to pay off the loan. So I've done the 1 month calculation, and from here I just want to see if that saves me any time. How's my special effects? Pretty good, right? All right, time taken to pay off the loan. Now I want to find what N is when I've got the present value of this new amount from my last calculation. Future value is going to be 0, and then the time periods to work that out using TVM is 274.98 months. I haven't done any rounding. I like to keep 2 decimal places right until the end. So the time taken is basically the first 2 years, 24, plus that 1 month calculation we did in there, plus the remainder of the loan, add all that together. And you can see it takes me 299.98 months instead of 300 months. So you can imagine I was fairly disappointed when I got to the end of this question, because I didn't really save any money. So what you need to do here is now discuss your strategy. So at the end of the day, I saved some time, and it was 0.02 of a month, which isn't a whole lot of anything. So down here, I kind of worked it out. There's my 300, take the length of the strategy 2, leaving me this many months. And if I work out how much money that saves me, it's really how much time times the payment, which saves me $43.65. So you can see my little exclamations there. I was pretty disappointed with the amount of money that saved me. I put in that $6,000 for 1 month. It saved me like $20 in interest. And overall for the term of the loan saved me 43.65, which isn't a lot of money. And if you think about you may have to have a higher interest rate to have an offset account, which is quite often what you have to do. If I'm paying a higher interest rate than just a normal loan without an offset account, then really that is not enough money to be saving. So the strategy of putting in my $6,000 for 1 month just sitting in there hasn't really saved me anything. It saved me a small amount, which of course everything helps, but I might be paying for that in a higher interest rate. And I think from looking at my 2 strategies, it's better to leave the $6,000 in there for the entire or the rest of the loan, where it's working harder for the entire loan rather than 1 month. And that's a strategy you can try as well. So if I was going to do strategy 3, I might say put $6,000 in after 2 years, but don't leave it in for the month. Just let it sit in there for the rest of the length of that loan. And then that would be just like a lump sum calculation. And you'll see that that will save you a bit more money. So there's kind of 3 strategies that you can use when doing the offset account. You have to decide on what you want to try. You need to look into it a little bit further about what offset accounts are and the pros and cons, and talk about how realistic these are in the terms of your scenario.